Hey everybody, welcome back to Beautiful You. Today we're going to elaborate some more on guilt. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe and share with others if you like what I am saying. And I never ever deserve the credit. I'm so grateful to Father who I believe gives me opportunities to say things in ways that maybe people have not thought of them or heard of them before. And I'm also grateful for my whole entire life and all my experiences, because the whole reason why I even put together this channel was because I've lived a well, we all have, but I feel like I've had a lot of difficulties in my life. And I feel like by the grace of God and through the experiences and through my faith, I have just been able to overcome emotionally, which to me is the most important thing. So I just want to share with other people. I want to help others achieve peace and happiness and love in their hearts, like I am so grateful to have done. I can never, ever adequately express my gratitude. I'm very grateful and I'm very thankful. So, one of the ways that I've done it is to let go of guilt. Guilt is so toxic. Guilt is like cancer. It eats away at you. It eats away at your heart. It makes you do crazy things. So, but first, let me read to you a couple of quotes. Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters the most. Each morning we are born again, and what we do today is what matters the most. So, what what you did yesterday doesn't matter. You probably did it not with the intention of hurting somebody. You probably did it because you thought it was best to do. You could have done it because your ego was in control, which is definitely something that I recommend working on. Whenever our egos rule our lives, we are the least happy. And I'll have to write that down and we'll talk about the ego another day. But if you did something because your ego was in control, that's not good, but it's not a reason to ruin the next day over it. Just do better the next day. Don't let your ego control you the next day. If you did something malicious and mean, well, I hope you will want to not act like that anymore and not do those kinds of things to people. And if you don't want to do those kinds of things to people, then ask for forgiveness from that person, apologize to the person, but still don't hold on to guilt. If you want to be a malicious and mean person, typically you're not going to be someone who's riddled by guilt anyways, but own it. If that's what you want to do, own it. Whatever it is that you do, if you're not going to make changes in your life to stop doing it, then own it. But don't feel guilt over it. If you feel guilty about it, then stop doing it. Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. So if you don't like what you did yesterday, don't do it again today. But don't hold on to guilt about it. Your mistakes don't define your character. It's what you choose to do after you've made the mistake that makes all the difference. Again, your mistakes don't define your character. It's what you choose to do after you've made the mistake that makes all the difference, which is exactly what I just said a minute ago as well. Let's think about guilt. It reminds me of worry. Both of those things, we do so much of them. We worry so much. We feel guilty so much. We feel bad about something for so long. And what good comes out of this? What good does guilt do? Can you think of one thing? Oftentimes people think if they feel guilt, then that's going to stop them from doing that same action again. The feeling of guilt isn't going to make you stop doing anything. If you want to stop doing something, you have to figure out why you did it and make a change in how you do things. Guilt in and of itself isn't going to help you make a positive change. In fact, it does the opposite. Guilt by itself, when you allow yourself to stew and wallow and marinate in guilt, it's so toxic, and it's like a cancer, and you'll start thinking terrible things about yourself. You'll start thinking what a bad person you are. It drives us into this belief of what a terrible person we are, so much so that oftentimes we have to seek other behaviors to get us out of it. Some people go shopping, some people gamble, some people get involved in sex or porn, some people get into drugs or the bottle. All of these behaviors are destructive and lead to nothing but more guilt. So it's a terrible cycle. Guilt leads to destructive behavior, which leads to more guilt, which leads to more destructive behavior. Nothing changes unless you make a conscious effort to change something. Oftentimes, a change is affected by nothing more than changing your way of thinking, seeing something from a different perspective, and making a conscious choice to not give in to feelings of worry, anxiety, and guilt. Those are all choices. Thinking that feeling guilty or being worried or being anxious is a choice is not a very popular point of view these days. Pharmaceutical industries wouldn't sell nearly as many drugs if we all believed that it's a choice to not feel those things. And I'm not saying that no one has any anxiety. I'm not saying that anxiety isn't warranted. I'm not saying that all anxiety is able to be controlled by our mind. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that we have a choice to not allow guilt to penetrate our hearts. We have a choice to not worry and not be anxious about things. We really, really do. If you don't believe you have a choice, then that makes you a victim. And if you're a victim and that's your mindset, you're not going to be able to make any changes, because you don't think that anything that happens to you, you have any control over any of it. You think that everything that happens to you is out of your control. And if everything that happens to you is out of your control, how can you change anything? Because you can't change other people. So feeling guilt, feeling anxiety, those things we have control over an excessive amount, okay? It's good and natural to feel anxious about things. It's one of our self-defense mechanisms. Anxiety motivates us to get things done, to make things happen, and to protect ourselves. Guilt truly does make us not want to do certain things again. But then we have to still make the effort not to do whatever that was again. And it's healthy to feel a certain amount of these things, of these emotions, but just not to dwell in them. It doesn't do any good at all. The only thing that does any good is making an actual change in how you deal with people, how you deal with things, what you do about things, your actions and behaviors, and reactions to things that happen. Those are things that you can change, and those are things that can make a change. But just feeling guilty, nothing good comes from that. And it just brings you back to a worse situation later. We are taught to feel guilty. There are religions that really count on guilt. But you don't have to choose to feel that way. And just because you choose not to follow a certain religion doesn't mean that you also have to walk away from God. Those can be two different things. They are for me. I'm not telling anybody what to turn your religious views into. There are plenty of other channels or places you can go to learn about those things. But I don't think that God wants us to feel guilty. I do think that the enemy wants us to feel guilty because the enemy wants us to be destroyed. He wants us to destroy ourselves because we are the only ones that have the power to do that. No one else has the power to destroy us besides us. Even if you end up, as I have, going through bankruptcy, foreclosure, loss of a business, divorces, failed marriages, which is what leads to divorce, troubles with the law, troubles with so many things. I've had all of these things happen to me. And I still rise above because my heart, what's in my heart and what I believe makes me rise above. If I hadn't had all those things happen to me, I'm sure I could have what some people measure as great success in this world. Maybe a lot of things could be different for me, but none of it matters to me, because the way that I think about things and the perspective that I see things in, it lets me believe and understand that my best life and success comes from here. It comes from how I feel in my heart. When I feel that I've been able to help somebody else, gosh, it makes me so happy. I just can't even believe it. I want to shout from the mountaintops, look at this awesome thing that happened, but I don't want to take credit for it. But on the other hand, it happened through me, even if I didn't do it. And it's such an amazing feeling. So to me, that's success. To me. And nobody can take away those things when I measure success like that. So anyways, I'm sorry I'm digressing tremendously and I'm going to stop. But I just want you to understand that you have a choice to not feel guilt. You have a choice to let it go. Guilt doesn't do anything good for you. In fact, the opposite. Just like worrying. Worrying doesn't do anything good for you either. In fact, it makes you be counterproductive because you lose sleep when you worry. You make poor decisions when you've lost sleep, and then you create more things to worry about. Guilt is the same way. So don't let guilt be a part of your life longer than a short period of time that allows you to decide whether or not you want to do something different if it's warranted for the situation. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this video with people if you think it could help them. And please subscribe. I'm on TikTok at beautifully.you. I always do 1-minute videos there. And here I am on YouTube, Beautiful You. And you can always email, you can comment, or you can email at themiracleofbeautifulyou@gmail.com. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Love yourself. And there you will be able to love others. I love you.